It's only Tuesday, but President Trump, like only he can, has managed to send the media and Democrats into an absolute frenzy. We'll get to the media's meltdown over the president in a second. But first, high drama in our nation's capital today as top Democrats abruptly cancel a spending meeting with President Trump over a tweet. Nancy Pelosi and crying Chuck Schumer backed out of the sit-down after the president signaled he was unlikely to bend to their requests. He'd written that they want illegal immigrants flooding into our country unchecked, are weak on crime, and want to substantially raise taxes. I don't see a deal. That set off the libs.
With his tweet this morning, President Trump made sure that today's meeting is nothing but a photo op. These issues are far too serious for these kinds of games. Mr. President, it's time to stop tweeting and start leading. As long as he remains a destructive force, it would be a waste of everyone's time to continue working with someone who clearly has no interest in coming to an agreement.
Mr. Trump held a press conference at the White House without Chuck and Nancy and had this to say.
Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi did not show up for our meeting today. I'm not really that surprised. We have a lot of differences. They're weak on crime. They're weak on illegal immigration. They want the illegal folks to come pouring into our border, and a lot of problems are being caused, although we've stopped it to a large extent, as much as you can without the wall, which we're going to get. So they decided not to show up. They've been all talk, and they've been no action. And now it's even worse. Now it's not even talk.
The president was on the Hill earlier to rally Senate Republicans on tax reform. The Budget Committee advanced the bill earlier, moving it closer to the full Senate for a vote perhaps later this week. So, Juan, your team just ditches the meeting. Do you think that makes the Democrats look weak or strong?
I think they're very strong, but let me just ask you something. Let me ask you something. I know you came to me first because you think, oh, the Democrats are on the defensive, but let me ask you a question.
I came to you first because I like you.
Oh, I appreciate that, but didn't the president set this off with his tweet?
So they were too sensitive to read a tweet and go to the meeting?
No, I can read a tweet, but the guy said, I don't see a deal. So why come, unless you just come in to have a picture with me?
So they don't want a deal, the Democrats?
No,
they want the government to get shut
they don't
down?
want to have a meeting where they are positioned as begging the president, oh, Mr. President, oh, we're so sorry. Oh, Mr. President, what do you have to offer? Can we make... That's putting yourself at a disadvantage going into the
Democrats gain the upper
meeting.
hand, you're saying, by leaving the meeting.
I think they say, let's have a fair, level playing field. Let's come into this with good intentions, good faith negotiations.
Do you see it that way, Dana?
No, I think they should have responded by saying, we got what we wanted last time. We'll see you at 3.
Ooh.
Because why not go? I mean, because they actually did. And the president was like, I agree with Chuck and Nancy. And the Republicans had to scurry back and try to figure out how to cobble together something that got us to this place where now, a week from Friday, the government is set to shut down. So I think that they could have responded in a different way.
Do you think this is just Trump's opening bid? You know, you're saying, Kimberly, I don't see a deal, but eventually they're going to have to get a deal.
Yeah, I mean, look, wouldn't it be nice if everyone could just work together cooperatively to a common good instead of a lot of the political gamesmanship? I don't know. Maybe one morning I'll wake up and that'll happen, but not today and probably not tomorrow or for the rest of the week. Nevertheless, you know, hope springs eternal. This is part of his strategy and his tactic and the way that he communicates and tries to negotiate as a businessman, a non-traditional politician with the other side. And he's trying to push him a little bit, expose him, call him out in the hopes that some of that public pressure will bring them closer towards what he wants and a deal coming to fruition. I don't know if it's going to work because they're old school politicians. He's old school business. So it's a little bit two different worlds. It's almost like speaking, communicating, operating in different languages. But so far he's been able to get a little bit of what he wants on this. But he's up against two, you know, formidable opponents that have been around the block quite a few times.
Been around the swamp, right, Gutfeld?
Yeah. I don't know. From now on, let's just call them Chancy, Chuck and Nancy. Saves a lot of time.
True.
You should meet with the guy. He is the president. Yeah. I mean, even if it's like, they'll meet with anybody. I suppose if he showed up in his boxers and grabbed butts, they'd show up.
Oh, wow.
Well, I mean, they're right behind Al Franken and John Conyers. They should actually meet with President Trump, is my point. The best part about that Trump's press conference was sitting there with the two empty place seats. Because that was like, an image is worth everything. And him sitting there, and there's the empty seats. It's basically saying they didn't show up for work. Yeah. Look, I am here. I am here to work. They didn't show up. They're out playing hooky. That's a smart move.
Let me go right back at you, Gutfeld, because the media totally lost it. I'm not going to say melted down because you've banned that phrase.
I did.
Over a number of things, one of those being the Pocahontas comment. How do you feel about that?
Well, I think, you know what? People hate context. Pocahontas, in this context, is not derogatory to Native Americans. It's a smear is when you are derogatory, when you use a term to be derogatory and basically say they're a lesser person. This is actually the opposite. What he's basically saying, here's a metaphor. You're playing golf and your buddy slices it into the woods and you say, nice shot, Tiger. What you're saying is that Tiger is a superior golfer and you're not Tiger Woods. When when Pocahontas is basically saying, Liz Warren, you're no Pocahontas. You pretended you pretended to be a Native American, but you're not a Native American. These are Native Americans. You're an imposter. It would be like watching Chris Cuomo. The media will understand this. Chris Cuomo on CNN and watch him babble incoherently, and you just go, "Good job, Cronkite." That's not an insult. That's not an insult to Cronkite.
It's sarcastic.
Yes, because he's revered the same way Pocahontas is. So that people, the media, they're being disingenuous by saying that this is a smear. It's actually the opposite of a smear because it's pointing out that she is nothing like the person. And to say that it's a smear, you're being actually really dishonest. It's a lie.
And
wow, that was unbelievable. I'm going to hire you as my lawyer.
Because it's so true.
Good idea. He's not licensed.
That is not spin.
I'm spinning so fast. That was unbelievable.
Because it was beautifully right.
No, I mean, goodness gracious. I'm amazed that you didn't just explode from the spinning. That was like a cyclotron.
Okay, instead of calling it spin, I'll point out where it's false, and then I'll agree with you. But there's nothing false in what I said.
You don't think that he intended to demean her with that comment?
He's actually saying that she's not Pocahontas, so it's not a smear.
I think that
demeaning her is not demeaning Native Americans. It's complimenting Native Americans by pointing out
complimenting Native Americans.
Because he's pointing out that
you're talking to Navajo code talkers, right?
Saying
about a woman
fake,
who claims to be Cherokee or something, about Pocahontas, who's from a wholly different tribe, and you're just lumping them all in, and he intends to skewer her.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any. So that's why I say
it's not a racist
I think you put me in the cyclotron.
I think you pull it way back, and this is not an issue of racism. It's an issue of character. And the Democrats could say you're of bad character because you did this in front of the Navajo code talkers, and this was an event for them, and it got hijacked by this issue. Or you could say it's an issue about character because in order to advance her career, when she went to Harvard, she said, "Oh yeah, I'm going to check the box here." Gets in, gets tenure, and then doesn't do that anymore. That is an issue of character. It's not one of race.
Before we get to Kimberly, and we're going to have you react to it, let's hear the media panic over the Pocahontas deal.
Panic.
Pocahontas panic.
Not only did he say that, which is considered by many a racial slur, he was standing in front of a portrait of Andrew Jackson, who signed the Indian Removal Act that basically led to the Trail of Tears and basically a death march for these people. This White House is Wile E. Coyote. Every time they have a layup, they blow themselves up.
He says the most bigoted things. He says the most ignorant things. And then what makes it worse is in the end, he really has no clue that he's doing it.
Just because you say you're not racist doesn't make it so. Especially if you say, do, and defend racist behavior over and over and over again. Especially if you have lost your credibility by telling countless lies, big and small.
So CNN is accusing Trump of losing credibility.
That's rich. I mean,
what do you think? Unhappy people, Kimberly.
Well, I don't know. I mean, they really want to push this point. It's like they feel like they've got something here with some gravitas that they can make the case to say this is a president that lacks credibility. This is a president that's racist. But they're not. This fact does not support that premise. But nevertheless, they're sticking with it, whether it's CNN or whether it's MSNBC and Mika, et cetera. That's what they're going on. They're saying, okay, this is a president who's being disrespectful. He's being disrespectful to Native Americans. He's saying this is completely out of control and trying to tie it back and do the whole full loop to say this proves, in fact, therefore, that he doesn't have credibility and is disrespectful.
I'm going to steal
It's like circular reasoning.
Analogy and say, let's pretend, Juan, that I claimed I was black just to get into school. Yeah. And then you made fun of me and said, oh, yeah, Jesse Jackson over here.
Right.
Is Jesse Jackson a racial slur?
I don't know about
No,
this.
but I would be
Thank you! So Pocahontas isn't a racial slur either.
I think you have to have some context.
Only
here.
in Waters' world.
Context.
It's perfect. That was a perfect analogy.
Did you work on that all day?
And Don Lemon made a legitimate point. I mean, this is the guy that said, oh, there are good people on both sides in Charlottesville, right? This is the guy who goes after the NFL players with some kind of vigor that makes people think, what's going on?
Makes them think, but as if they're reading, if they can read his mind.
Yeah,
you can't read his mind, Juan.
No, you know what?
He didn't say anything racist about the NFL.
No,
you know it.
I think that he finds
the racist thing.
I think that he
You
finds.
think, not he thinks.
Well, I'm about to tell you then.
Okay.
Okay, that he finds it just very valuable politically to attack people of color in this country, and he does so, and then says,
Like,
"I'm not racist."
like Paul Ryan.
I have
what
no
color is
problem
Paul
with
Ryan?
it.
What color is Hillary Clinton? What color is Marco Rubio? What color is anybody at Fox News or CNN that he's attacked?
And what I'm saying to you is he finds political advantage and value in making whipping boys out of people of color, and he, in this
Mitch
case,
McConnell?
In this case, I think he went after her in a way that even Navajo Indians said was insensitive, and they considered it a slur. That's not me.
All you have to do is
That's
pose the
people
question.
who are Native Americans.
If you pose that question, you can get any answer you want.
Dana, Pelosi, bringing it back to the earlier discussion, just tweeted that Trump is guilty of verbal abuse by saying, I guess, crying Chuck and, there's no deal. Verbal abuse.
But this is the thing. I think that they have got to figure out a way to meet him where he is.
In the gutter?
Twitter?
Well, sure. In the Twitter gutter or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that if you are not going to be able to match him with wit, and you're just going to say, well, okay, we're not going to go to the meeting, I think it's very old school thinking. And this is one of the problems I think that the Democrats has, is that they've been doing things the same way for so long. And the rest of the world, for better or worse, whatever, has moved on in different ways. There's different ways of communicating. And we showed the Chuck Schumer speech, and he has to read the entire thing, like a dramatic interpretation, rather than just being able to look into the camera and say, I'm not going to the meeting because you know what? What you said to me was so insulting, and I'm not going to go work with you. You want to shut down the government, Mr. President? Be my guest. Like, that's not hard to do. You don't have to read all of that, and there's no emotion that is coming through, and it looks insincere.
You know what's interesting? You said like Nancy and Chuck or Chancey can't meet him with wit. They could probably meet him halfway.